Greetings, Masala followers. I'm in Peterborough, and I have the great fortune of being with one of the catalysts of peace in Peterborough, a lady by the name of Suchitra Rampal, who works in the community cohesion area for the county council, for the Peterborough Council. Suchitra, can you please tell us what you actually do?
Yes, hello everybody. Nice to be invited for this interview. I work for the Greater Peterborough Partnership, which is the local strategic partnership for the council, and I'm the assistant cohesion manager, which really means supporting the cohesion manager in delivering the cohesion agenda. And then again, what is cohesion? Cohesion is all about working with the different communities in Peterborough, and it doesn't matter, which community they belong to, but basically we're trying to engage, first of all, engage with them. The other main area is addressing issues. So if a particular community has an issue, say it could be with antisocial behaviour by the youth, we actually then try to link the relevant service providers, agencies, partner agencies, to come together and address these issues with the people concerned. Say it could be a residents association who has issues in a particular street, and our job is actually linking all the relevant people, bringing them to the table and say, right, let's talk about it and what action can we take. So that's one area. I also work with the faith communities. So in other words, if you want to engage with a particular community and you want to say give some information about something that's coming up, say for instance the census 2011, that information needs to be rolled out within the different communities. So we would actually get in touch with the faith community, say like the Sikh community or the Hindu community or the Muslim community, and actually feed that information through to the committees so they can actually give that information out to the congregation. So that's another aspect, but there are other very, very important issues in terms of neighbourhoods, and so there's not just one issue, it's a larger picture, and so we get involved at strategic level as well, because some issues need to go a bit higher where the responsibility lies, and a lot of resource implications apply. So it's so wide and varied.
I mean, Peterborough is a very multicultural town, and some people would say that because it is so multicultural, it creates a lot of it can be a recipe for a lot of tension. I mean, the world, of course, is very multicultural, and there are all kinds of languages, peoples in the world. But there are people who feel that different cultures should not live close together, and it's a masala which becomes too hot for good. It becomes too spicy and too unreal. But actually, what is your experience in Peterborough? Because by and large it is a very peaceful community.
It is actually. I mean, Peterborough is a diverse community made up of diverse communities, and as far as I've lived in Peterborough, communities have got on, and but we've had some issues, but you wouldn't be normal in any town where there weren't issues, and they've been addressed. But I think in all there's so much culture and diversity. If you think about the kind of foods that are available to us, we're very lucky, because in some countries, if you wanted to eat a particular food, say it could be Chinese, Italian, Indian, Mexican, you couldn't actually do that. But actually in Peterborough or in England, you can guarantee that you'll get a variety of foods. But if you look at the local communities, they have so much variety of the local recipes that, you know, may not get into the restaurants, but, you know, we actually share that with all our communities. Community engagement, you know, having Diwali parties, or whether it is Christmas parties, or, you know, Eid parties. But even at schools, you know, they're celebrating all these different cultures, whether it's food, costumes, festivals. And in fact, you know, we're in Peterborough, we've got, we had an initiative, Festival of Festivals, which, you know, I was involved in producing a calendar for the whole year, which community groups actually contributed to, all the different festivals that took place in Peterborough, and they were very local to your area. So whether it's Bretton, Orton, Warrington, you know, there's a festival, and, you know, people were able to contribute to that, and it was more sort of, you know, homely, and it belonged to them. And that's where you know, what our job is really to get people to belong to an area that they're living in and have a say in, and that's what it's all about. And I think people that lack of knowledge, you know, find it fearful to actually let go of their own culture and embrace someone else's. But unless you do that and experiment, you know, actually there's similarities in two cultures, and that fear goes. And I think, you know, it comes slowly, but you know, I think we're lucky that we have got a lot of people working together.
You have a really important bridge building role. Would you say that having been born and raised as an Indian is actually an advantage in this kind of a role? Where does your culture fit in? You seem to be able to talk to different communities and cultures very effortlessly. How did you develop this skill?
I mean, I think it all stems from, you know, your home upbringing, I have to say that, because I believe, you know, my parents brought us up in, you know, embracing everyone else's culture. Although, you know, you hold on to your own beliefs, but you've actually got to learn, and it's all knowledge. So from, you know, very early age, you know, we were able to communicate with the different communities that we were living, you know, with, whether they were Ukrainians or Italians or Asians, you know, not necessarily from India. And from there on, you know, it was having a pride actually that you belong to this culture, and we can talk about it and share it, but equally we can share everybody else's culture. So I think, you know, it came from that really. But I think as I've moved, you know, in my career, I've believed that, you know, in order to work with different communities, different people, you know, you have to have respect for everybody. And if you don't have that, I think, you know, you don't actually, you know, open that door and welcome everybody. And I think people then sort of, you know, move away from you and sort of say, well, actually, she's only ticking the boxes. So I do think that, you know, you've got to believe in something that you're doing. And I believe that, you know, we're living in a multicultural society. We need to be very flexible, but equally, you know, people around us need to think like that as well. And it's not always easy, but I think knowledge as well, depending on, you know, how much, you know, you take in and how much you learn from that, and actually then put it in practice.
I mean, one of the words you keep mentioning is the word community. To me, it's quite a miracle that so many ethnic minorities in this country are actually organized as communities, and you know, they actually operate within communities, and that is quite remarkable, and that's also a resource and a strength for the country. What would you say to that? I mean,
I think you're right. You know, we belong to a community, and it's almost as though, you know, we've been put in different slots, you know, because we belong to the Hindu community, or whether, you know, it's the Muslim community, or I think, you know, it's partly two ways. You know, we've created that as well as being put into that situation, but it's a sense of belonging to that community. And I think, you know, as a community, members of a community, they need to feel that they belong somewhere. So I think, you know, faith has a lot to do with it, because we, you know, meet in a place of worship like the Hindu temples, and we feel, or the gurdwaras or the mosques, you know, we feel that, you know, everybody who are similar are meeting at the same place. So you've got that strong sense of belief that you belong to, you know, a community. However, you know, I think the younger generation may not feel that way, because they're actually able to integrate far more into the general society, in which, you know, we may see that the community as we belong in may not exist, because, you know, it's sort of fragmented and people are sort of moving away from home, moving away from their close family networks. But certainly in Peterborough there are communities, and there are rural communities as well. You know, a lot of the rural communities are small, but they're very close knitted, and, you know, you've got the parish councils, and again, they're seeing change as well, because the younger generation are moving away from these communities, and then you're left with, you know, a community that is a certain age maybe, and, you know, actually thinking a certain way, and, you know, each village or, you know, area has its own uniqueness about that as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the word faith. I mean, faith does, in a lot of policymakers' eyes and media and journalists' eyes, faith is a cause of tension, is a cause of emotional disturbance. But actually, the way you talked about faith, you know, it has a very strong cohesive force. It brings people together and it connects people and gives them a sense of belonging. That's actually very, very pleasing to hear, and it's a concept and it's a practice which needs to be understood more and more. And as you've seen on this Masala tour, we've gone to many faith places and talked about the role of faith in community life and in building an ethical society, an ethical Britain which has responsibility and is accountable to its people.